Welcome back to the Be Forever Cool podcast. My name is Rex 45. Got the Monday night crew in the building on a Tuesday night. What's going on, fellas? How's everyone doing?
What's going
What's
on,
going
man?
on?
Happy to be back.
Nice. One of my favorite tracks to go watch MotoGP, Mugello. I've only been to three tracks, but one of my favorites. They had a record crowd of over 160,000, 166,000 around there. Before I tell you guys why it's a great weekend for Pecco and the crew, I'll let you guys talk about the weekend and give your thoughts, and then I'll tell you why you're wrong. How are your thoughts of the weekend, Cheetah?
Listen, man, Mark got the 93rd win. He got that 100th pole that everyone was saying he's going to get. Pecco lost his consecutive streak at Mugello, 5 years or whatever he had. The brothers continue to rise up to the top and perform at the highest level under the highest pressure and the biggest spotlights. And then, you obviously had KTM still scratching their heads. We saw that they were trying out different weight dampers, all sorts of dampers, but it's just not working out to reduce that rear chatter. So overall, I mean, there's a lot we can unpack, but those are some of the things that definitely stood out to me.
All right. I like that. What are your thoughts, Lewis, on the weekend? I know you're happy with the Marquez brothers.
Well, I mean, it went pretty much the way that everyone thought it would go. And, for those of you that are Pecco fans, it didn't go your way, but we knew it wasn't going to go your way. At least those of us that are living reality knew that it wasn't going to go that way. He was going to lose his streak, which is understandable. I mean, like I've said before, him and Martin, I feel, have been really good riders on what was the best bike in the paddock. And now that more people have that bike, better riders are showing that they have higher levels of skill. I mean, he went from being a 5 or 6 time in a row winner at this race to not even ending up in the place that he usually ends up, 3rd and 4th place. The places that he says he doesn't come to race, seems like that's where he comes to race, man. Every weekend, 3rd and 4th. So at least he's consistently in 3rd or 4th.
That he is. Reese, what are your thoughts on the weekend, man?
I mean, the weekend was great. I mean, just like we all said and we all expected with the two Marquez brothers up top. I agree 100% with Lewis. All the Pecco fans is kind of in denial, thinking that this guy is going to rise to the top and rise to the cream. But, I mean, he's back there. His skill level with the guys that's coming up on the same identical bike is showing that he's a 3rd or 4th place rider. He's not a 1st place rider. So, I think that's where we're going to stand at for the rest of the season with Pecco.
Oh man, that's unfortunate because I don't see it that way. Looking at the times and qualifying times, even though Mark set the lap record, Pecco was right there in 2nd place on the start of the grid. So it's not that he's struggling. And I will say this, and this is and that's why I say it was a good weekend for them. Did Gian Antonio figured out something on that 25 bike? Because that bike was very competitive at the end, and I'm pretty sure that Pecco and the guys that are on the 25 bike are going to be looking at data, because if there was a couple more laps, he would have ran down Alex Marquez as well. So I think even though they didn't get the podium that they wanted, I think you're looking at the qualifying times, they were pretty close. You're looking at the end of the race, they were pretty close. If you look at last year, the 24 bike, they started to figure it out about this time last year before the summer break. So I think that the second half of the season is going to be a lot different than the first half of the season, but they're going to have to prove it this weekend in Assen. So if Pecco and Gian Antonio is not in front of the Marquez brother, it's going to be a tough year. But I think if Assen is going to be a proven ground for what happened this past weekend. What are you guys' thoughts on what I just said as far as what Digia did and was able to come through and have that 25 bike, have some good lap times?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to say because this track definitely, we expected even Aldeguer to do well. and he comes in 9th, 11th, 12th. So I think Digi just might have just something clicked for him specifically, more so than Ducati altogether. Just because I say that, because this is Pecco's track. This is a track he was supposed to come. This is one where he was expecting to at least be top in the podium, right? When he loses that race, you saw them pan to his wife, and she has her head down with her head shaking. That just tells you how much weight was on Pecco's shoulders. It wasn't just the fans, it wasn't himself, it was his whole family, the team. And it's a sad day because now he has to swallow that pill. And now maybe the one thing I'll say, Rex, is that maybe now the pressure's off. Maybe he can allow free himself up a little bit and really start riding a little bit better. I don't know. That's the only thing I can come out of this for Pecco.
Lewis?
I think the nightmare just continues to get worse after this.
Yeah.
I think Mark, did DG find something? Yeah, he probably found that hometown bump. I always tell you that when you're racing in your country, you always find that 3/4, a half of a second. We've seen it happen before at different tracks where guys are in their hometown race or their home country race and they do a little bit better. I think that's what might have happened with Digi. Or Digi set up the bike to work better on worn tires versus new tires. This is where Mark has shown that he really separates himself from everyone else, is when the tires start to drop off, he stays consistent. He finds a way to ride around the tire drop off of the problems. Either he sets the bike up for the tire drop off and then just works really hard in the beginning when the tires are new to stay competitive. And then once the tires drop and he starts to see everybody start spinning and sliding, he just does his thing and walks away. Because that's one way of approaching setting up a bike, is setting it up for the tires when they're new or mid condition, or setting them when they're mid condition and used. And the bike will work better in that specific scenario. So who knows what Mark's doing, but everybody agrees that when the tires drop off, you just see Mark's times stay right there. And sometimes he sets his fastest laps, like on lap 21 of 23 or something.
Right.
So he's definitely doing something right. Whereas, you see that Pecco had that one slide in the front end coming onto the front straight. And
one
after
mistake cost him that win.
After that, he fucking pissed his pants and he decided, like, nah, man, I don't have it today. And unfortunately, that's not the mentality that the two guys in front of him have, because you've seen Mark have issues, you've seen Alex have issues, and once they have issues within a lap or two, they forget those issues and they start riding again like that never happened.
Right.
But
Reese.
with Pecco, it seems like he has that one moment or that one situation, and then he can't recoup. Because at the beginning of the race, dude, he was dicing it up really good with Marquez.
It was some great racing. I was just like, yo.
Phenomenal.
And it sucks because it's two brothers. So it's not like he's getting hit from one side. He was getting hit from both sides. And that was, I'm going to blame the VR46 Academy riders for not, running up and helping them out. But Reese, help me out here. Seriously, like, Dijan Antonio might have saved 2025 Ducati, right? You're in the back office. You know what's going on. You see the numbers. You're looking at that. Your boy's like, yo, there's something here. There's a chance, right?
No. He just probably set the bike up that maybe run on as Lewis said, on worn tires. Digio may not be as hard on the tires as Pekka. Digi's probably lighter, smaller than Pekka, and not as heavy. Pekka's a little bit of a taller guy. You never know. And then, like Lewis said, being at your home crowd and in front of your home fans, and even here in America, you're in front of your family. Coming from the basketball world, you play in front of that home crowd, you have an extra energy level that you go with, and you like, I can do more than what I can normally do. With Pekka, he had that, that moment with him and Marquez, and he ran into kind of touched the back of Marquez's tire, and after that, he just fell off and disappeared. I don't know if his balls dropped off or he just couldn't do anymore. He just stayed back there in the back and just said, I'm gonna just ride back here. And then you read the comments in the in the post race, and he's saying still with the front end feel, And I'm like, I can't agree to that because, like, you know, like you said, for the first couple of laps, you were very competitive. You guys were dicing it up. I mean, you guys were 3 wide coming into a turn. So, beautiful. And, you know, dicing it back and forth, and you went back and forth with Marquez. So to say a front end field, unless you had a tremendous drop off, which we all know tires going to have a drop off some point in time in a race, to have a tremendous drop off like that and say, now I can't feel it, that doesn't make sense to me. You know, you're the pro. Either A, you know, you should figure it out to set the bike up for after the drop off, or B, you need to figure out how to ride around this.
I hear you.
Rexy, one more thing
ahead.
to keep in mind is one thing that no one mentioned was that Morbidelli and Vinales were in front of Digi. And I know Digi, we can argue that he finished very close to Alex. He would have gone up there either way. We can argue that because Vinales and Morbidelli wouldn't have let that happen as easy. So basically, when that whole thing happened and Morbidelli starts fucking up the long laps, right? What's his name? Digi gets a free pass to get a clear side ahead of Alex.
Saturday in the sprint, Digi was quick too.
I'm talking about Sunday specifically.
No, that's what I'm saying. But I'm just saying, like, he wasn't just quick on Sunday. He was quick on Saturday.
He was quick. But what I'm saying is maybe that's why he didn't finish on podium, because the people in front of him held him up into the sprint. So the same argument can go for Sunday. I don't know. You know, it's tough to pass people that are annoying.
And to add on to that, remember when he was catching Morbidelli and Vinales, he did get a free pass. He didn't have to burn any tires fighting those two guys off to get around them. Yep. Versus Pecco, Marquez, and Alex, they've spent the first 4 or 5 laps dicing it up, banging each other, hitting each other, slowing each other up. Realistically, you know, if Mark had gotten in front or Alex had gotten in front and set that blistering pace that came in at around lap 7, right from the gate, you know, Morbidelli and Vinales would have been further back, and Digi would have been 8.5 seconds back, realistically, at the end of the race. So a lot of things came together to help Digi get to that point, but Digi did the work. You know, he was able to put it together. He took advantage of the opportunities. He rode the wheels off the bike. He got past Pecco, which, you know, everybody was thinking Pecco's going to be at least on the podium. And, you know, the way the VR46 boys work, you know, if I could take third from you, I'm going to take third from you.
Yeah.
We might be boys, but we're not boys.
You know? not when it comes to that paycheck.
I'm not getting that boys paycheck from you from letting you stay in third. So I'm going to take that third and I'm going to take that check.
Right.
Well, Rex, to wrap the whole question up, not to take anything away from Digi, phenomenal pace, but I wouldn't bet the bank on him finishing podium next race just because of
Got you. Okay. So what you're saying is the 2025 bike is still not ready.
I don't know if it's
you ask the Marquez brothers, it is.
Yeah.
No, they're not on 2025 bikes. They're not on 2025. They're on 24 bikes.
Mark?
There's enough commentators out now that have said, like, the Marquez brothers are on the same bike, and Pecco and Digi are on 25 bikes with 24 engines.
You want to fact check that?
Nah, man, that's just Pecco people coming up with more.
No. You hear it from Matt Byrne and these guys on MotoGP.
Oh wait, the only person is Pecco on 25.
No, and Digi. Those are 2 guys that are on the 2025 bike. And you know, you can listen to the last race.
If Marquez is on a 24 bike and it works well, and Pecco likes the 24 bike, why isn't Pecco on a 24 bike? That makes no sense.
That's you know, I see that point as well. But these guys are factory riders, and they've always been developing. And in the 2023 bike, they struggled on until about halfway on the season. The same thing with the 24 bike. And I assume it's the same progression with the 25 bike. So we'll see what happens in the second half of the season, if it's just a fluke weekend or they figure something out. But, like, you can see that in like I said, in the previous few years, easily. So, and I don't know what bike they're on because ain't nobody calling me, and I give them my number all the time, but they ain't calling me. So, but from what the Matt Byrne, these guys are saying, it's, you know, from their commentating after the last race, yeah, it's only Digi and Pecco that's on that 25 bike. But let's
now, you know, I'm going to have to fact check that, right?
Yeah, that's fact check city right there.
You just got to listen to the show. I mean, watch the race again.
I mean, these are the same guys that think Michelin tires are great. So,
listen, we can't do
whatever pays the bills.
You know, if we all,
I mean, look, there's a post here that says Marquez says the GP25 and 24 are identical at the Aragon test.
Different
How would he
shade of
know?
red on the paint.
How would he
I
know?
mean, we don't know. That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
That's all I'm saying. I don't actually know, so I don't have a leg to stand on. But let's talk about qualifying. These guys smashing the records. You know, KTM is up there. Yamaha is up there. Aprilia is up there. I think it's one of the best 10 guys. Even the guys coming from Q1 to Q2 that we've seen in a long time. A lot of different manufacturers that were really competitive. To see Pecco getting second on the grid was pretty impressive because before that we thought the Marquez brothers was going to run away with it, but it seemed like a lot of these guys had something to prove this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, Pecco's team said it. That after he put those softs on or the Q tires on, he felt completely different, and everything came together that morning. But it's very exciting to see. KTM's didn't really come together, but they came together in Q2 to get it together there. Yamaha has definitely made a step up. We're seeing Aprilia in Q2 as well. We're missing Martin, of course, but we would see more of him hopefully in Q2 as well. So I think it's all coming together slowly. We still see Ducati is the leading manufacturer right now, but come the next couple of years, I can see that gap really closing up here.
Right, Lewis, is it surprising that Vinales is the strongest KTM rider out the gate?
I mean, it's surprising in a way because, to be honest with you, I didn't expect a ton of KTM this year, except for a couple of tracks where they're historically good. Like they're historically good at 2 or 3 tracks because they've got the top speed, and like at their home track at the Red Bull Ring, everybody says that track is just a big square. You go fast from this corner to this corner, stop, go fast from this corner to this corner, stop, go fast. And that's what they're good at. They're good at going really fast in a straight line. So it was interesting to see them doing well at this track because this is a very flowy track. It has a lot of transition left to right, a lot of fast corners. And Vinales is the smoothest rider probably out in the KTM garage. Like if you had to tell me of the 4 guys that are riding the KTM, which guy is the smoothest rider, he's probably the smoothest rider. Like if you ask me, Binder, if he takes you dancing, it's probably going to be slam dancing. Like he's not slow dancing with you. I don't think my man has any kind of smooth rhythm. Acosta has a little bit of smooth rhythm, but he's also a little bit abrupt. And whereas, Vinales has that flow to him where he can do that. And this is a track where sometimes that flow can help you in the areas where top speed doesn't matter. So, if you look at the top 10, we had 2 Yamahas that qualified in Q2 in the top 10. Right. But then when the race day came, you couldn't find them anywhere on the grid. I actually checked to see if they were even racing.
Right.
Because once once you can do that one fast lap.
Right.
You can't do that one fast lap for 23 laps.
Exactly.
I get you. Reese, I know what you're thinking, right? Because Lewis doesn't give you all the information when he says certain things because my man Quartararo had his shoulder pop out and had to tell dude in the orange suit, like, yo, come on, nudge me back in so I can get back in and show him what a real rider is. Reese, is this Quartararo's chance to say, hey, I'm leaving Yamaha? Or does this put Quartararo on the same level as Lorenzo when he broke his collarbone and flew and came back in and finished 5th? What Quartararo did this past weekend in pain, is that pretty impressive?
I mean, what he did in the qualifying and everything else, that was impressive. Because like Lewis said, you can put down that one fast flyer. To do it for 23, 21 laps, it takes a different caliber of a rider. Like Lorenzo did it. There's a couple of guys that's done it before with Rossi with a broken leg, Lorenzo, Pedrosa. It takes a special person, a special rider. I think the young generation nowadays, it's like I'm hurt, I don't want to do it, I need to take a little breather. But I give him his credit where credit's due. He did come out and actually continue and not complain about it. So I give him the credit there, and I think he'll be better next round. Hopefully he heals up and comes back stronger. But like everyone says, I mean, I'm very well impressed to see different manufacturers up there in the top 10 to get to Q2, because it was nice and not to see just all of Ducati or all the other the same brands up there at top. So I mean, I think it'd be nice to see Honda come up there once in a while. I mean, Aprilia's come a very long way without Jorge. KTM, I was very shocked to see KTM and Vinales up there, but sometimes he does surprises everybody once in a blue moon. I was surprised to see Renz up there because I didn't think he would be nowhere to be found. I was like, where did you come from? So that was very impressive. But for overall, I'm happy for where it stands at. I mean, it does show where GP is heading to and all the brands are heading to. And I think with the new rules and regulations coming here in 27, I think it's going to be something to see.
Nice. I know you motorcycle guys is once, somebody does you guys wrong, it's hard to say nice things about riders in the case of Vinales with you and Yamaha Reeks, because that was a little tough to bring out. But let me ask, what's more impressive? Is it Bezzecchi, what he's doing on the Aprilia, or what Raul Fernandez is doing on Aprilia? Because it looks like Raul is trying to do what Digia did in 2022 and save his MotoGP career, because Raul's been riding the last couple of rounds really well.
I gotta say it's Bezzecchi. I mean, just because there's no other benchmark right now for Aprilia, and if you look at the standings, Bezzecchi is well ahead of drawing a blank here. Well ahead of
Ayagura and Fernandez.
Yeah, I just drew a complete blank. Well ahead of Fernandez. So he's like in 15th or something. And, I would say just based off that, you don't really have a benchmark to say who's more impressive besides just what they're doing overall. So I'm gonna go with Bezzecchi.
Okay. All right. What are your thoughts, Louis? Are we saving Fernandez's career this year?
No, I don't think so. I think Bezzecchi is a little bit more impressive. What he's doing kind of by himself, because even though he's supposed to be on a 2-man team, he's a 1-man team. Mm-hmm. So he's the one that's gonna kind of go out there, set the blistering pace, and then he can't look to the garage next to him and see, hey, let's share data, because when he looks next to him, it's just crickets. It's a random one-off rider, somebody they found in the parking lot that had a matching suit, whoever's available that weekend. He's not riding with a top-notch rider in the same garage with him that can help him develop the bike, or at least develop a setup for that weekend. So he's got to go out there every single session, put in all the work, come back, do all the data work with his data guys, let the data guys try to figure something out with just one set of data versus 2 sets of data, or in Ducati's case, 80 sets of data. And so he's got to do it by himself. And then who else has he got on Aprilia? He's got Raul Fernandez, who's in 32nd place, and he's got Ayagura, who's in 33rd place. So for me, he's the most impressive guy because he's got to do all the legwork himself. And Raul Fernandez, I mean, he's a good young kid. I think he moved into the GP class a little bit prematurely. He should have done a little bit more in Moto 2. I think, again, Miguel Oliveira would have probably been better in that position than him. But he moved on to another manufacturer, and, he's had his issues. So I don't think Raul Fernandez will be around next year again. That's just my feeling. My feeling is that that's a spot that they're going to give to one of the up-and-coming guys in Moto 2 that have proven themselves.
Right.
Mine is Canet or what's his name?
Gonzalez.
No, Canet, Dixon, like any of the dudes that have been Moto 2 for like 18 years.
Come on, Reese. I mean, this guy's going to save his career, right? I mean, he's a couple of top 10s in the last couple of rounds. Winning changes people's attitudes, right? Or placing better in his case. No, too late.
I would say it's too late. I mean, consistency is key. I mean, yeah, you're doing okay, maybe a little bit this year, but I mean, where have you been for the past 20 years or however years you've been there? I just can't see him sticking around. I mean, Bezzecchi, it's more of a Bezzecchi thing that I'm more impressed with because he's a sole rider. He was technically the secondary bike. Now he's the primary bike. When Martin comes back, he's still going to be a primary bike. So he doesn't have anybody to bounce data off of. He has nothing to kind of console with, and he's doing it all on his own without even complaining and going out there and throwing down the times and going there to compete. So I'm more impressed with him versus Fernandez. I mean, I'm glad Fernandez is showing a little fight, but it's at this point in time, it's like just a little bit too late, because then if we gave you a 2-year contract, now you're going to take the gas off, kind of fall back. I can get breathing room. No, we don't want that. It's kind of late now. So I think his career, his time in MotoGP has pretty much come to an end.
Okay. No doubt there. And, I don't want to sit here and say I haven't talked about the Marquez brother enough. But I mean, Marquez winning 93 wins, over 100 poles, and then, using Lewis's cheat code in the sprint race where he felt like I'll just, not engage my launch control or whatever it was that he was trying to figure out and still win the race.
He's trying to give Pecco a chance, man. Like, look, I'm gonna give you a chance. I'm gonna let you take a little lead here.
I'm gonna give you a little taste of what it feels like to be first.
Crush your soul again.
Teradati gave him 10,000 euros to do that, man. Give him a shot.
So, I mean, what can we say that the Marquez brothers are not going to do this year at this point? Because they're already making history this season already, and they're just smashing records. So, I'll give you guys the floor on, the Marquez brothers. It's pretty impressive what they've done, obviously. I still feel like Alex needs to, at some point, fight his brother.
Yeah, I mean, it was Mark's. Mark hasn't won in that track in 11 years, right? So it's a long time coming for him. I'm surprised I didn't see more emotion on that side. But what are they not going to do, right? That's the question we're all asking, because anything seems possible for these two guys right now. Nothing can stop them. Would Alex be at this pace without Mark there? I don't think so. I think he learned a lot from Mark this past preseason, possibly. You just saw something really, really shift with Alex. So, I mean, at this point, I think what's really the question to ask is what lies in store for Alex next year? I think that's the main question we can all ask. Where is he going to go? What's his stock going to be worth now, especially with all this going on with Pecco and everything? I mean, if Pecco, it's a different thing. If Pecco is doing great and Alex is doing great, but this is a unique dynamic going into next year where the red team's thinking, what do we do here? What do we do? Do we save the Italian, or do we bring on our next best hope here that's showing out every single race?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It sounds like LeBron James saying, when do we start saying we need rings to be really good with the Marquez brothers? It's a bit much.
Ducati collects them like infinity stones now. They're going to get all they need.
I still don't understand it, because when you got the top four guys are on Ducati in the championship. Like, it doesn't matter if there's a Marquez brother, the Ducati would still be one. So I get what Audi and Volkswagen are trying to do for sales and stuff like that. So it makes sense and stuff like that. But who knows? But what are your thoughts, Lewis, on what the Marquez brothers are doing? And can Alex beat his brother, or just continue to help him get in Pecco's way?
Or you can't get in somebody's way if the person's like 2.5 seconds behind you. Like, technically that's not getting in your way. But take the brothers part of it out. Let's just say these were two guys that were not related. Like, this is an incredible competition. Even though like one of the riders is coming out on top every weekend, there's another rider that's right there keeping that rider honest. If that rider at the top fumbles, like, that guy is right there to pick up the ball. Like, I haven't seen a 1-2 like this back to back since Rossi and Lorenzo kind of shared the paddock together and shared the garage together. Like, every weekend those two guys showed up, it was like, who's racing for third? Because one of those two guys is coming in first and the other one's coming in second. The only difference here is one of them just seems to have that little extra sauce that when he's on the podium, he seems to always find himself at the top step, and the other one finds himself on the second step. And even though the other one has found himself on the first step once, it's like you're my brother, but you're my first competitor. And I think Mark is throwing a little bit of salt in the wound because now he keeps every time in an interview saying Alex is my biggest competitor. Alex is my biggest competitor. Yeah. And maybe some of that is mind games for his brother, some of that is mind games for other people. But he really is. I mean, just look at it's literally 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 2 2 2 2 2 1 1 1. Mixing a 1 and a 2 here and there. Mark had a DNF. Alex had his issues at that one race, but he still got back on the bike and still finishing the points. If these guys keep going the way they're going, take the brothers part out of it, this might be the best 1-2 competition that we've seen in a long time. It just happens to be that it's two brothers, which elevates it even more because again, we're talking about the Serena and Venus Williams.
Right.
How often have you seen two siblings at the very top of their sport dominating like this?
Yeah. No, it's definitely been a while. Reese, you got number 1, number 2 rider in the box. What are you telling your number 1 rider? What are you telling your number 2 rider? I mean, keep kicking his ass. Listen, don't let him kick your ass. Like, what are you, what's the conversation like? And, as somebody who's not on the bike, how neutral or not neutral can you be?
I mean, you got to be neutral, but I mean, you're also, it's good for us as a team, competitive. It's fun. And, like Lewis said, I mean, we're there to compete and compete for 1 and 2, and, we like competing for 1 and 2 because we get dinner and we 1 and 2. It's nice to put the 2 guys on the box. I mean, you're telling the number 1 rider to, still keep going out there and kick ass. And you're telling the number 2 guy, hey, go get him. Like, go get his ass, it's for competition purposes, I mean, like you said, when, it's 1 and 2, it's like, who's coming in third? Like, these 2 guys are coming in for 1 and 2. Who's coming in third? You're fighting for third and fourth. Now, it goes back to, Rossi, Lorenzo. It goes back to American days with Ben Spies and Matt Mladen. It's like, who's coming in third at this point in time? But you haven't seen it in such a long time. So it's like you say, if you take the brothers out, it just makes for a good show. It's somebody there to keep that person up front honest. Like, hey, I'm gonna keep you honest because I'm right here on your heels.
Okay. All right.
You know what? I haven't heard you say something in a while, Rex, and I want to see if you still agree. Pecco's having the best year of his career. He's got more points at this point right now than he had last year.
Listen,
I'm just saying.
That's just salt in the wound.
Man. Hey, that bed looks good back there, man. Let him have a good night's rest tonight, man.
Oh my God!
It's been a tough couple of nights, and listen, you're the numbers guy, Lewis. Come on, what are we doing? If anything, we're teaching on this show. I can't all of a sudden not pay attention to the numbers, man. I mean, you notice, I'm talking Team Ducati now. You know what I'm saying? It's for me, it's not over. And like I said, I will see what happens in Assen if there's something to be figured out, or it's just some juju. Sometimes you got to shave your head to get the bad juju off. Maybe you got to go, sing in Central Park or something or wherever or whatever.
I mean, right? I think I just heard the fat lady singing because it's over. Pekka done.
That lady went home. Rexy, she was in the middle of Central Park singing, man. I'm gonna call some people.
Sometimes you gotta do something a little different, and this is the good thing about motorcycle racing or any kind of competition, right? Because it's never over till it's over. And if you're sitting on the sidelines, regardless if you're Pecco or Samkat Chantra, you got to believe that you can win. You have to walk with that mindset as somebody who's on the bike, much less part of the team. So, it's Marc Marquez. So, I mean, I'm not sitting here saying he's not one of the greatest riders to ever do it. It's we can debate about the manner in which he's doing it and stuff like that. But no, it's pretty impressive. The biggest surprise is what Alex Marquez is doing. I think that's the biggest surprise
I'd agree.
Out of everything. It's like we've never really seen that, and it'd be one thing, like, no disrespect to the McEnroe brothers, but Patrick McEnroe was getting to the quarterfinals while John was winning Grand Slams and stuff like that. And here's a chance for Alex Marquez to stand on his own, but he's going to have to beat his brother to do that. And and if it's not this year, we'll see what happens next year. But he probably has these couple of years to do it.
Like Mark has shown, remember, he's a Moto2 champion. He didn't come in here as like a guy that was in 10th place in Moto2 and just happened to get a ride because his brother's in GP. Like, he is a Moto2 champion. He's a winning rider. He has 8 wins in Moto2, at least 24 podiums. Like, he didn't come to MotoGP as a diversity hire. He's not a DEI hire.
Almost. Zarco had like 2 world titles before Alex won, and Morbidelli and Pecco and all these guys got titles.
But Marquez has been in GP longer than those guys, though.
The younger Marquez.
The younger Marquez.
Yeah.
But not Alex. The thing is, the McEnroe brothers example used, I don't know. I know John. I don't know. I didn't know the other brother, right? But it's funny you mentioned that, because that's been the highlight. That's been basically the entire career of Alex this whole time. He's been coming in top 10. All of a sudden, he's now podiuming every race. And honestly, he's winning it if you took Mark out the equation every single race.
Yeah.
So, I'm looking at some stats right here. In 2017, Moto2, he was the 4th overall winner. In 2018, he was the 4th overall. In 2019, he won the Moto2 championship. I don't have those stats here.
It was Pecco before him and Morbidelli the year before, I think.
Okay. So now he's kind of getting back on Pecco and Morbidelli on their own bike by beating the piss out of them in MotoGP.
Listen,
but
again, the best move for those guys were coming to Ducati, right? Because on the Honda,
absolutely,
it would have been a different story, and it's pretty impressive. And I'm the youngest, so I'm rooting for Alex to beat the older brother. You know what I'm saying? That's all I know.
But let's say
we know that's not what happened.
Let's say Mark decides to retire in like a year or two. He wins all the championships he wants. He gets all the accolades he's trying to reach. When he leaves, there's still going to be a Marquez that is a potential, killer in the water.
Yeah,
which is great, because you like to have a shark in the water, man. And we didn't really have a shark in the water. We had 2 barracudas that were going at each other for the last couple of years, but they weren't sharks.
Yeah.
And I think the championship is benefiting from the 2 brothers, that whole storyline, the storyline of Marquez coming back after that injury and 5 years of like bouncing around and not knowing what's going to happen with his career, almost quitting. And then even further down the road, like Honda having a little bit of resurgence. Zarco would have had a great weekend this weekend if somebody didn't punt him into the 15th row. So there's a lot of things going on. And even I think this next race is not the midpoint of the year. The race after that, Germany, is the midpoint of the year.
Yeah.
So between the German round and the round right after the German round,
it's Czech Republic and Bruno, I think.
So in those 2 races, I think that's when we're going to start seeing the divide on who's going to be able to carry the rest of the season minus injury. Because again, this isn't foosball. Like, injuries do happen in this sport, and they can be detrimental. But also between those 2 rounds, I think we're going to see a lot of these contracts that are up in the air getting resolved.
Right. And Lewis, I appreciate you saying that, because it sounds like we're on the same page.
Yep.
It's gonna, and the after the summer break is what is gonna really see what's gonna happen.
Yeah, for sure. Again, we still got half a season. After a half a season, Marquez is leading by only 40 points. I mean, I'm not saying only 40 points, but it's only 40 points to his brother. That's 2 DNFs. If he has 2 DNFs and his brother's able to win, he just clawed back 50 points.
Yeah.
Right.
If he has 2 DNFs or more, because of the sprint races.
Right.
So there's still a lot of racing to go.
All right. And before I go to Moto2, let me ask this, because of what you guys just said. Who has the most pressure at this point? Marquez, Alex Marquez, or Pecco? Since we already said Pecco's done, who has the most pressure, and which means who do you think may make the most mistakes in the next couple of rounds?
Pekka.
Yeah.
He's already making mistakes.
No doubt.
To be honest with you, I don't think Pekka has. And like at this point, Pekka should just kind of go to every race wanting to win.
Yeah.
And just forget the championship. Get the championship out of your head. Just try to get the best result possible. Because you don't put that extra pressure on yourself. I mean, the only people that really have pressure are the guys that are looking for a job next year. Pecco has a job next year. Marquez has a job next year. Alex has, like the dudes with no jobs next year, those are the only ones that should be showing up every weekend sweating bullets. Everybody else, like you said before, should be showing up confident. Hey, I have the potential to win this weekend. That's why I'm here. And I'm going to do everything I can to try to win. Don't worry about the points. Don't worry about the championship standings. Don't worry about any of that, man. Don't put that extra pressure on yourself. You don't need that. Marquez is showing up at every race like he's going to hang out with his friends at a party. Like you need to have that mindset. Don't worry about the weekend. It's going to happen one way or the other. Either I'm going to do great, or I'm going to end up in an ambulance. One of the two is going to happen, but let it happen. Don't worry about it.
Win it or bend it. That's it.
Right.
It's on the podium or it's in the crash truck. Either way, race is over. I'm going to the next race.
Or to the hospital.
The Italian fans, even though Marquez is on a Ducati, no love.
Yeah, we should talk about that, man. That's insane. That doesn't happen in Spain. That doesn't.
What do you think about that, Cheetah?
Man, it's a passion. You got to appreciate it from a standpoint of like, man, I've never seen that before, but it's messed up. You got to support the Ducati rider. You got to support the rider. And I get it. I feel like, what do you guys think? Was it a hatred of Mark, or was it such a disappointment of Pecco losing? I mean, was it a?
It was a hatred of Mark because
it was a hatred of Mark.
Yeah,
because they booed Mark before when he wasn't on a Ducati.
You know why, right? This starts from the number
Rossi.
46.
This is not. It has nothing to do with. It has nothing to do with Mark and anybody else than Rossi.
Yeah.
It's not the red mist; it's the yellow mist.
Yeah,
right.
Crazy. And I'm sure Valentino's just back there patting himself on the back, having a blast back there, sipping his pina colada or whatever he's doing. But man, these boys they're going to learn though. They're going to learn. You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't know. I don't know if they're
going
to.
Nah.
You don't know Italians, do you?
Mark is going to show out every single time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't even think it matters. It's like the lovers of European football, right?
Yep.
They ride with their colors, and it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate at best, but we have to talk about it because where you have the Ducati heads trying to keep it down, and even last year Pecco was trying to keep it down when he was getting booed last year and stuff like that. Is it something that is just it is what it is? I mean, I don't know if there's any racial slurs being thrown at Marquez, but I'm probably sure they probably was.
I mean, listen. I'll say this: I'm rewatching The Last Dance the second time. Michael Jordan is one of my biggest inspirations for business and just how to live life, and so watching that just reminds me what Mark is going through right now. That kind of a guy doesn't fold under that kind of pressure. He eats that up. He's going to remember that. And like you said, those mental games he's playing in the press conference, think of all the stuff he's remembering from when he won that race and what the fans are saying, those specific special words. Every single time he wins in Italy, he's going to remember that.
Oh, that's enough fuel to go the whole year, really. Might be enough fuel to go the whole year.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, they might have been saying some real specific things too, that hurts him. So you never know.
Right. What are your thoughts, Louis? Good for motorcycle racing. It is what it is.
I'm a quote a great man who once said, "You need a guy like me to point your finger and go, that's the bad guy."
Yep. Rest in peace, Scarface.
You make more money off your haters than you do off of the people that love you.
Right.
Mark Marquez this weekend, I guarantee you there's a giant portion of the people that showed up that weekend and paid that money to see Pecco beat Marquez. Not to see Pecco win, to see Pecco beat Marquez. Yeah. And then they had to eat that L And at the end of the day, Marquez is still going to get his, $35, $40, $50,000 race bonus for the sprint, his $30, $40, $50,000 race bonus for the win on Sunday. I think the only thing that bothered Marquez is that they were also booing his brother, and his brother has nothing to do with what happened between him and Valentino Rossi.
Come on, man.
And he did mention,
man, we go after everything.
Oh yeah, nah. We go after your family. We'll go after your pets, man. Like, don't let me see you walking your dog outside.
It's like we're taking 3 generations to come.
Hey, all that they causing their own self damage. I know Marquez is not going over to Italy and donating his purse winnings.
No. He's
Thailand,
not.
like in Thailand. He's not going to go over to Italy and do that.
And like Cheetah said, this is more fuel to the fire, man. How much better does it feel to win? That not only are you winning in front of the people that you're booing you, but you're beating their hometown favorite. You're beating their legacy, champion for years and years and years. You're slowly creeping in on destroying some of his benchmarks that he's made in racing. Like Marquez, a true competitor like Marquez is kind of like a Jordan. They take that hate and they just turn it into fuel, man.
Yeah.
Right. What are your thoughts, Reese? You're quiet over there. Let's talk about it from the fan side. I mean, is the struggles real?
No, I mean, like they say, you take that and just run with it. I mean, I've been booed before, going into different stadiums. I'm like, I don't really care. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you just take it and run with it. I mean, the boo, his brother, yeah, I can see a little anger towards that because he got nothing to do with it. But fans are going to be fans, and they just don't like that name Marquez because you went after their hometown, their idol of Rossi. So they're not going to take it. They can care less about you, and that's just the Italian way. Italians will hold a grudge till you die. They will hold a grudge, and they're going to hold it
to their kids too.
Right. They're going to hold that grudge until both Marquez is out of the water, out of GP, out of racing. They don't care. But
I mean, you see fans, you see people that talk about Lewis Hamilton, and they still won't give Lewis Hamilton the credit he deserves as a phenomenal rider because of the people who they love.
Right.
Him.
But your haters are always going to be your biggest supporters. They're going to be your biggest supporters. The more you hate on me, the more my checks keep coming in. That's it.
I would love to know how many people booed and still got this autograph.
Right.
I would love to know. There's probably a big percentage.
I would love to know how many of them paid 300 euros to go boo.
No, right.
To stand in 100-degree heat in the sun in Mugello, hot as balls. I mean, it must have smelled great out there with all those Italians sweating garlic just to boo Marquez.
Lewis, you're not making sense of fun, Lewis. You're not making sense of fun.
I don't
know. He's making a lot of sense of fun because y'all still came out here to boo me to see me get beat by Pekka, and I still whooped his ass.
Yep.
Pay me. Like my man Flavor said.
The insane don't look at it that way. So
no, of course,
rational.
No, they ain't gotta look at it. But that's how Marquez is looking at it. Like back in the day from Flavor Flav, you still got to pay me. You still got to pay me.
I will say the best thing that Marquez did is after he won the race, instead of grabbing his 93, grabbed the Ducati flag and planted the Ducati flag. Because if he had planted the 93 flag in front of the Ducati area,
that would have been.
They just burning the place down at that point. Track is off the schedule for the next 5 years. They burned it to the ground
until he retired. Like, hey, we can't come back here no more.
Listen, guys. Let's move on a little bit because I definitely I would say this was one of the best race weekends. The qualifying, the competitiveness of all of the manufacturers. The sport just keeps keeping us interested and keeping us. Even though the Marquez brothers are running away with it. It still keeps us grounded. But let's talk about Moto2. Should Gonzalez be in MotoGP next year? What are your thoughts of the race in Moto2 overall? It was pretty wild and pretty competitive. He's not ready, Gonzalez?
No.
He got to win a title first?
How many victories? Yeah, they're like 3 or 4 this year, right?
He's leading the championship. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, put him on a bike. Let's see how he does first,
I mean, he was one of the fastest guys on the Aprilia, even though they're not giving him anything. I mean, I see the two, not necessarily you, Cheetah, Reese and Lewis both shaking their heads saying Gonzalez is not ready. And I'm curious to hear what they're thinking.
Reese, you can start this one.
Was Bronny ready? Was Bronny ready to go to NBA? No.
Yeah, but his dad is not in the league, is it? Gonzalez's dad in the league?
Doesn't matter. I mean, but you can't. It's just he's not ready to.
World Superbike 300 title, Super Sport title. One of the top riders in Moto 2 right now, and winning races. I mean, like he's numbers guy. He's having a better career than Aaron Canet.
He is. Yeah. But what rides are available next year?
There you go.
It's not making sense, guys. Let's talk about why he's not ready, not necessarily what rides.
What ride? Yeah, it's true, but what rides are available next year? What rides?
1, maybe 2 Aprilias.
A Ducati seat. Morbidelli needs to get signed. There's an Aprilia seat that's available.
Probably a KTM seat.
There's probably a KTM
and a Honda.
Yeah, and a Honda. 4 seats.
If I was his manager, I would tell him to chill for another year, try to win a championship. If he wins this year, try to win a back-to-back championship, and then solidify himself into a better seat.
Okay. Right. All right.
Your stock market will grow, and then he can get in a better seat and actually be something. Because right now, if you're coming into a shitty seat, now you're just getting pushed further back. No one's going to know who you are.
Okay. You guys made some valid points. I was thinking more of like, okay, the dude's kicking ass, but it may not be the best look for him to come out for his career this season, which I can see that. What are your thoughts about that, Cheetah?
Yeah, I mean, I think what they're saying they have got a good point. I do want to probably think about that a little deeper. Once they said that, it made more sense because you got guys like Acosta that have come in and they're still mid-pack right now. So what's going to happen if he jumps too early, doesn't have that experience, that caliber of Moto2 under his belt, and then step up? Yeah, I mean, even if anything, we got this new change coming up in GP. There's no rush. He's still 23 or something like that, so there's time for him. He's a young cat.
So, yeah, and so in other words, what you're saying is Lewis and Reese, if he had offered a seat, he has to say no. He should say no.
If he has good management around him, good management, not management that's looking for the 20%. Good management would tell him, look, you're going to move to this GP ride for 1 year. It's not going to be on a great team. And the following year, the bike's going to change completely. So you don't even know what you're stepping into.
Right.
You're better off if you do really, really well Moto2. Let's say he does win the championship this year. You come back, you defend your title. If you successfully defend your title next year, then the following year, when they switch all these new rules, you get to actually step up into this class on a tire that you already know, because remember, they're in Pirelli in Moto2, they're on Michelin in MotoGP. So you're going to step up into a bike on a tire that you already know, on a bike that nobody knows. So you're on more level ground with everybody else. And now you actually have a little bit more experience because you've been on Pirelli for much longer.
Right. And I agree 100% there with Lewis because of the fact that, there's going to be a new spec bike, a whole 27. You're going to be on a new spec tire, versus going into the old spec tire. It's like just stay grounded, stay in the Moto2 level, and then come up, if anything, come up in that next level when everything completely fully changes. Yeah. Then I think you would be in that realm of, I can show what I got now because I have a little bit more experience on the Pirellis versus anyone else, and I can compete and I can kind of see everybody's on a level playing field with their motors going into the lower CC class instead of being in the 1000 class where this bike has been fully developed. This bike has been fully stay in Moto2 and then move up not move up now because you're only going to be on that bike for 1 year. I mean, it's good for Toprak because Toprak's going to be going into a new spec bike, but he needs to get used to the tracks. You're already used to the tracks. You're already used to everything. Stay on that lower on Moto 2, then move up into that class once the whole series changes in 27.
Right. Yeah. So so you think if he wins the championship this year, and it could be yes or no answer, you think he still should stay? He should do a Zarco and do a back-to-back?
Yep.
Oh man, that's what's up. MotoGP is in Assen this weekend. We got the poll questions out on YouTube. Marquez brothers, Pecco and Bezzecchi is who we're saying are the four that may win the race this weekend. I know, I ask every weekend hoping for different answers, but I'm going to ask again. Change is always, there's always an opportunity for change as long as we're breathing. So, what do you guys think this weekend coming up? Is it a foregone conclusion that it's still Mark 1 and 2, or these other guys that's been making stride, because they have been, the Morbidelli, even though he's had, I don't know, I don't even know. I can't even say Morbidelli should have a girl for the night or not have a girl for the night. The way he's always just making bad decisions. But Morbidelli, Bezzecchi, Vinales, Costa's starting to look nice. I'm not going to sit here and say Pecco anymore because these other guys are starting to get quicker than him at the moment until he proves us otherwise. What are you guys' thoughts on the results of this upcoming weekend?
Yeah, I mean, Mark, Alex, well, that's my 1-2 right now. Just can't. Numbers don't lie. Numbers, God knows too. And I think Pecco, man, he just passed his best track. I think Assen's also a good track for him. So
he got a tattoo on his arm. Assen.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, that's his favorite track. But even after that track, I still think he has potential because he might have passed his best tracks, but he still hasn't found the right setup for him, apparently. So, I mean, if he can get out of his head, that's part of the factor to this. But maybe part of it is that setup that'll get his brain to open up a little bit more. So I still have hopes for him. But besides those guys, I mean, Vinales is looking strong. Bezzecchi is looking strong. It'll be interesting to see if Morbidelli can get it together and doesn't take anyone else out. All that kind of stuff going on. But those are probably my 4, 5, 6 right there, if I were to say.
All right. What are your thoughts, Lewis? I mean, Bastianini's starting to get quick. I know he's way down there on your list, and he's a KTM rider.
I think Bruno is going to be an interesting track because I think there's a possibility of rain. And I think if it rains, that's really going to throw a wrench in the entire weekend. So even though like the conventional thinking is Marquez 1 and 2, and then everybody else racing for 3rd and 4th, if there's a situation where it might rain or the weather gets involved, I think this is another opportunity for Zarco to put on his scuba gear and go out swimming everybody on the bike. Which I think is a possibility. I really do think that there's probably going to be inclement weather this weekend coming up, and if that's the case, then I really want to see the wet weather experts, Binder, Zarco, and even Quartararo kind of worm their way up to the front.
Right. You said Bruno, but I think you meant Assen.
I mean Assen.
Right?
Assen. Yes. Sorry.
But the weather, I can see the weather between Bruno and Assen.
Yeah.
Make the confusion. Lewis, are you surprised that? I mean, obviously Zarco wasn't taken out by his own accord, but are you surprised by the result because he's been doing so well the previous rounds?
I was a little surprised that he didn't qualify a little bit better than I actually expected him to qualify in the top 10. And for him to qualify outside the top 10 was a little bit of shock to me. I wasn't shocked by some of the other Hondas, but I definitely was shocked that he wasn't in the top 10. I don't know exactly what on that track caused the Hondas to not work well because it seemed that all the Hondas were struggling. I'm hoping that that's not the situation this coming weekend. I hope whatever miscellaneous thing happened that weekend at Mugello doesn't happen this coming weekend because I do want to see the Hondas back in the top 10 again. It's always fun to see them and the Yamahas at least in the top 10. Watching the race and watching Quartararo just drop lap after lap. I mean, that was painful to watch, man, because you know that guy has a ton of talent. And for him to be getting passed by the people that he was getting passed, I mean, that's a moral. I mean, that just kills you. Like, you're faster than these guys. You have more talent. But going down the front straightaway, you're getting passed by 3 bikes in one shot. Like, that's demoralizing, man.
Yeah. I will say this past weekend was some great riding to watch and so forth. But Lewis, Reese, what are your thoughts on what's going to happen this weekend for number 3, 4, and below?
I mean, I do have to go Marquez up top, but I mean 3, 4, and back. I mean, like you said, if it does play in the wet weather, I mean, I like to see Zarco and Quartararo up there. I like to see a couple other guys up there to see how they handle. I mean, I'm still counting Pekka out. I gotta just say bye, but it'd be nice to see another brand and see some other guys come to play and see the wet weather specialists rise to the crop, the cream of the crop on this and see how they do. Now, as far as what Lewis was saying with the whole Quartararo thing, I mean, we still don't even know, because he was hurt.
Yep.
We don't know if that played a factor on him, dropping back and back and back, because all that G-force on your shoulders, that does take a play. So I can't say if that took a play or not. I mean, only one person that can answer that is Quartararo, because he was the one riding. So hopefully he's 100% better this coming around, and maybe he won't have that problem. But I would like to see the wet weather guys up there if it does have a wet race this weekend.
I mean, having your shoulder pop out and doing 20-something laps. I mean, you tear your Achilles. Should have Aldebert continue to play in the paces after he popped his Achilles?
Achilles and the shoulder is a whole ball game. I mean, that's a whole different ball game. That's a different animal in itself. I mean, the person we can ask about that, I can go ask Ben Speeds. I'm like, hey, how does your shoulder feel when it comes out?
He could tell you. I mean, it comes out all the time, from what I understand.
His shoulder comes out if he sneezes hard. So, but I mean, I hope the kid is all right, man. I wish him a speedy recovery, but.
Yeah, no, I hear you there. Quartararo, my naivete as far as like when he won the title and who was the riders back then and the quality of riders, I might not have given him as much credit as he deserved back when he won his title. But these last few years of seeing what he's been able to do on a struggling bike is pretty impressive. Right.
I can honestly say that on a struggling bike, a bike that you're used to seeing up there in the top 3 or even the top 5. I mean, it just struggled to be barely in the top 10. I mean, like, even with the Honda, it's like, where are you guys at? Where's the Japs at?
Yeah.
They coming. They're coming back.
Yeah, they're in 27 right now.
Give them a little time. They're coming back, man.
No doubt,
guys. I said they're slow. They're just slow.
They're working on a CBR 1000 RR. It's got like 8 more horsepower. It's got like 8 more horsepower.
Sound like Scooby there.
Reese, that's what's going to be dubbed, the Scooby.
Scooby snack.
Something, man. Somebody needs to do something, because I feel bad for the Japanese brand right now. You're just getting hurt.
I think they stayed a little bit too in their Japanese way a little too long, man. Because Honda used to be a development powerhouse. Like they were constantly developing new technologies, and a lot of the new technologies eventually came to street bikes. And at some point, they kind of lost their way, stopped developing new technologies, and the technologies that they developed didn't really make it down to the consumer level. Like they kind of just disappeared into, like the seamless gearbox. I've yet to see a motorcycle get built for the consumer that has a seamless gearbox. Like what's so difficult about bringing that kind of technology? Instead, we keep adding more horsepower and we keep adding electronics, but we're not really adding new technology to the motors.
Right. No,
we're squeezing more horsepower out of them. But again, seamless gearbox, the carbon fiber swing arm, which now a couple of bikes do come with carbon fiber swing arms, titanium valves. All these things were developed in MotoGP and made it to the consumer level. And now the Japanese develop stuff, but it doesn't go anywhere. And that's where they lost their way, man.
The problem is with that is like everyone, us as consumers, we want it all, but then the biggest problem is as soon as we get it, we bitch and complain about the damn price.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the average street bike now is $26,000. So
about 20 grand.
No, I'm saying if you look at across all the bikes that are sold, because again, I'm not looking at sub $7,000 bikes or $8,000 bikes. I mean, your average, I think the least expensive 1,000 right now is the Suzuki. I think you can get it for about 17K, 15 to 17K.
Your R1's about 18. R1's about 18.
And the R1M is like 23, 24?
28.
Yeah, 28. Look at that.
28. The R1 and M. Yeah, 28.
And the V4 is in the mid to upper 20s, unless you go with like an S.
We don't talk about that price on public, Louis.
So again, like the average price is not like people are scared to buy these bikes because you're still selling V4s, you're still selling R1s. But the thing is, what are you bringing new to the table? This year, the R1M has wings. Ooh, wings.
Yeah. No, I would say for the past, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 years, it's more safety and how to ride a fast bike, safe stuff. It's not been like just straight speed. It's just really been everything to keep inexperienced riders safe that they've been coming out with.
Yeah. I mean, street bikes have enough power they need at this point. The thousands, you don't need any more power. Yeah, So, but
I still want technology in my bike. Like I still want pieces that I'm not getting right now. Why can't I get a seamless gearbox? Why can't I get this upgraded suspension without having to be forced to get Öhlins only or something like that? Why can't I get this other piece of technology?
It's a question for the Japanese.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Italians bring it. If you look at Aprilia, if you look at Ducati, every time that they change a model, they make significant changes to the model. They actually bring in new swing arms. They bring in new motor packages. They bring in this. They bring in that. And what do the Japanese bring? New bodywork.
I think they probably just know
new paint. Sorry, I forgot the paint.
I mean, you're the numbers guy, man. It just probably comes down to what market share they own and who they're going after.
Well, you can't own a market share.
They're not going after Italian style.
If you abandon the market share, then you have no market share.
But that probably is their market share. The people that can afford those bikes, not the ones with the seamless gearbox, not the one with all the stuff in it. 30 grand is probably 35 grand for a Honda CBR is probably going to be capping out Hondas.
Yeah, but you can still make a Honda if you make a special edition Honda,
right?
That has the same way the R1M. It's a special edition R1.
Yeah.
It comes with carbon fiber bodywork. It comes with Öhlins suspension. It comes with all these extra pieces that don't come with the standard model. I mean, for a while, Yamaha had the R1S and the R1, as well as the R1M, and the R1S was like the entry level, base level. It didn't have some of the inner pieces of the motor. So but once you abandon that marketplace, once you say, I'm not going to really develop anything new in that marketplace, when you can keep wheeling out a bike that's been around for 15 years and keep sticking new paint and bodywork on it, now you gave up on that marketplace. And now the only way you're going to win it back is by something significantly different.
Hundreds, bro, completely from they've never upgraded the CBRs, they haven't upgraded Suzuki's, they haven't upgraded the Cowies ever.
Yeah.
They just
at this point they're not going to, because now those bikes have become irrelevant in racing. And if they're irrelevant in racing,
they just recalled the stop sale on the ZX6Rs 24-25 a few months ago.
I heard about that. Yeah,
it's over. They're not going to go back in and spend more money. Probably not. I wouldn't think so. They're probably going to triples and thousands more so than
right. I could tell you this. From what I've heard, Suzuki has something coming, and it's supposed to be a 9, and it's supposed to be a triple.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've heard Suzuki is supposed to revamp their whole sport bike lineup, and it's coming.
Yeah.
I know here in America, we are the number one selling sport bikes for the 1000 model. We sell more 1000 bikes than any other market. There's no other market that sells more 1000 than us. That's exactly why on our side for Yamaha, the R1 is still here in America, because we sell more than any other market. So if you're going by numbers, it's not going in. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. It could, but I mean, they just need to like Lewis said, you need to come with something new and improved to give it to your consumers. Like here, because
no, you're absolutely right. You have to give it to your fans. I mean, at the end of the day, you can only be a fan and support your team. I mean, Chicago Cubs or the Red Sox. I mean, how long are you going to support your team for before?
No, man, ask anybody that's a Knicks fan. Like 50 years. Still showing up in the orange.
So in this day and age, as far as the industry and how we try to be more, more production and less waste, environment. They need, and these are really good brands. We all love these brands. I love Kawasaki. I love Yamaha. I love Honda. We want these brands to do well. It's not that we're sitting here saying, I'm not sitting here saying I want them to do bad. It's just that you also have to say, hey, y'all ain't doing what y'all supposed to be doing right now, and y'all should know better.
Yeah, right. I think the last time somebody really shook up the market was when BMW came out with the original S1000 and RR. Because you could get a bike now. It had more horsepower because they didn't have that. They weren't worried about that Asian gentleman's agreement of capping horsepower at a certain amount. It came already with a lot of electronics that most other bikes didn't have, unless the bikes were, in the mid 20,000s at that point. Because the original S1000, I want to say, was in the 17K range, which seems a little bit high from back then, but for what you were getting, it was a great deal.
Yeah.
And since then, Ducati kind of pulled up their sleeves and said, all right, we're going to start going to warfare here. We're going to start making some other bike. And the Europeans, between those two brands, have really stepped up and pushed into the higher CC sport bike market and kind of dominated it. Even if we're still selling a lot of Yamahas and still selling a lot of Hondas and Suzukis and Kawasaki's. I mean, nobody's talking about the latest Yamaha R1 because it's the same R1 for the past 10 years.
Right.
Yeah. And the Suzuki is the same for the past 20 years.
It's nostalgia and also, I mean, it's also a credit to the brand, right? Because, if Bob Marley is still like the number one reggae artist and he's been dead from the early 80s, right? So, to compare Suzuki to Bob Marley, to have a product that, people still love and appreciate, even though it hasn't changed, it's a milestone. But, unlike Bob Marley, Suzuki's still alive. So
if Suzuki doesn't evolve, they might be joining Bob Marley.
They might be.
The one thing they have in common right now is you do need to get high before you walk into a dealership and buy a Suzuki, because you're like, God damn, I'm about to spend top dollar for a bike that hasn't changed in 18 years. Let me sit in the parking lot and get a little toasted before I go in here and sign that loan.
Lewis, we're not going to have you talking in front of fifth graders. I'll tell you that much.
In front of who?
Fifth graders.
I mean, he's not lying, though. You got to be a little high to go buy a Suzuki 1000 or a 750 right now. You be like, why? It's the same crap.
750 is way worse. Yeah. Shit.
It doesn't change, man. It hasn't changed.
You know what? If I got a good deal on one, I'd buy it.
Hey, at least my ZX6 is still only 12 grand at the dealership, man. 13 grand. It ain't no 18, 20, so.
Listen, after a certain price, between $5,000, it doesn't matter. It's like $16 difference, maybe.
It's hard to spend that kind of money on a bike that has not changed. Jesus Christ.
That's what you call love and a fan, or that's the
ultimate. I got a close friend, bro. He's in his 50s. He has a 2013 Gixxer 1000. He's still trying to sell for $7,000, $8,000. I'm like, bro, it ain't happening, man. You ain't getting $8,000, $10,000 for this bike. That's the guy that would buy a brand new Gixxer.
I'm not gonna lie. I've got a Gixxer. I've got two Gixxers. I've got a Yamaha, and I won't sell any of them.
Yeah.
Unless I absolutely am dying of money. Like, I won't sell them because I actually like the bikes. I know that they're dinosaurs in a way, but I actually do like the bikes. They work great. They're reliable. for what I'm going to use it for going out, riding around a little bit, meeting up at a bike meet, things like that, it's more than enough bike.
Right.
So that's what I enjoy about them. But it would be nice to have a modern bike that keeps up, at least with technology, with other modern bikes. The Suzuki is still using an IMU that's, I don't know, 10 years old. You can't separate traction control from wheelie control. There is no wheelie control. You just add more traction control. Like, other bikes that just moved on. I mean, the 600 that I have, it's still got a cable throttle. There's no fly-by-wire, so you can't do an auto blip. Like, it's these little things that it's like, how are you still making this bike in 2025?
But let me ask
technology has been around since 2009.
Let me ask this, Louis. How much of that technology you're really using? As a new rider, it's one thing. As a seasoned rider like yourself, like we give you a bike with 160 horsepower on here, no tech. Are you telling me you're not going to go around the track on it and have a ball?
I'm going to go put a quick shift and an auto blipper the first second I get it, man.
Right. I agree with that.
But that's not dealing with the throttle or ABS or traction control. That's just short.
No. You need fly-by-wire for that.
You need fly-by-wire for that. So I can't use a regular cable throttle system, so I can't put it on a Suzuki at all unless I go to Team Hammer and I beg them to give me their fly-by-wire system. And Team Hammer is more than happy to sell it to me for a lot of money. And then if I have any issues, they're the only ones that can fix it. But this is a very simple thing that could be done at the factory with a very small change to the carb unit and to the throttle system. That's it. But every year you keep wheeling out the same shit box with this throttle system that's from the 1960s. The only thing it's missing is some flat side carbs. That's it. It's the only thing it's missing. I'm surprised it's got fuel injection.
Okay. All right.
Just roll out another color.
Yep.
We'll call
another shade of blue.
I want to thank you guys for coming on. It's the Be Forever Cool podcast. My name is Rex 45. We got Reese, we got Cheetah, we got Daria Luis Ortega in the building. Peace, fellas.
Peace.
Peace.